Hello, it's Angela from Create for Living, and today I want to show you inside my new Archer and Olive notebook that I'm busy setting up. So if you're like me and you've seen so many people write about how incredible these notebooks are and wondered if they really do live up to the hype, then watch these series of videos as I use this as my current bullet journal, and I'll give you an honest review. I bought this myself from Journal and Stuff in Netherlands, and this is me starting out with setting up my front key page, and I wanted to see whether these journals would hold up to wet on wet technique. So you can see I put a lot of water, and immediately I could see the water was kind of going through and crinkling, and it wasn't really spreading. There's not really a coat on these pages, so they don't really react like watercolor paper. The water kind of soaks in, and so I think they would definitely lend much better to a dry watercolor technique, or dry mediums than wet mediums. The wet definitely soaked right through. Even so, with a little bit of playing around with the colors and then drying, I was able to get that sort of effect that I was looking for, but wasn't able to do any kind of fluid painting. And you can see on the back there was definite bleed through. So it soaked right through. I wasn't too worried because as a Bible journalist, I'm used to working with thin pages and I know there could be a fix. And so I chose this strategically, but I did want to do a wet on wet test of watercolor just to know what this paper could hold up to, and to give you that honest review and feedback that wet on wet does not work on this paper. It doesn't have a coating and it is very thick paper, so when it gets wet it really does crinkle, and that seems amplified because of the fact that it's so thick. So you want to be careful really with how much moisture you use. If you use a drier technique like you see me doing on the right, these papers hold up fantastically, and the surface holds up to a lot of work. So in other notebooks I can generally only get away with doing 1 or 2 layers on top of each other with markers or with paints, and then the integrity of the top of the paper starts kind of bubbling and getting thinner and losing integrity. But that doesn't happen with this Archer and Olive notebook. You could see I placed layer upon layer upon layer of color with quite a dryish technique, sometimes a little bit more moisture, just to test it out as I'm doing this locket, and yet the integrity of this was absolutely fine. So I decided to use a silver watercolor. I layered on top of that lots of different colors. On top of that I layered the blues. On the inside of this locket I have the keyhole, which is looking to a swimming pool. If you're following me on Instagram, you know that I've just started swimming, and that was really about me stepping out of my comfort zone, because I used to love swimming as a child and hadn't swum in about 15 years, maybe longer, maybe 20, because I became really self-conscious, and getting back into the water has been like finding a home again, finding something I loved. And so this is all about the journey that I'm taking personally, and so that I wanted that symbolism in this bullet journal, because it's going to be tracking my swimming journey, my goals. That's a big part of what I'm doing at the moment. So I wanted to bring that in. I wanted the wings to bring in the fact that I'm under his wings, that God's got me covered. I wanted to bring in the feather as the aspect of creative journaling, and the feather on the outside, and have everything joined together with this ribbon and this key. And then bringing in the key symbolism, I've written down the bottom right, and you'll see that in a moment, that I'll letter. Just looking at the back, you can see it hasn't played through. There's a little bit of ghosting at the bottom of the gold for the key, because I really worked that area, and I got it a little wet really again. So but the dryer technique definitely worked well. I did get wrinkling with the watercolor. Again, if you control your moisture, you should be okay. So I'm going over the outside with a marker. This is a Uniball, and usually this marker would bleed through my other kind of bullet journals because of the kind of ink that it has. However, it didn't bleed through this at all because the page is just so thick. And so the thickness of the page is really freeing, and I'm enjoying having that thick page, because that does give me a little bit of freedom with what kind of pens and markers I can use in this bullet journal. The surface of the bullet journal it has a little bit of a tooth to it, so you don't want to use markers that can fray, or if you're someone who doesn't want a certain calligraphy pen or brush marker to fray, you may want to be careful with using them on this surface. It isn't a very smooth surface like the Leichten are, where they're the LT 1917, where they're very smooth pages. This is not like that at all. But I find it works very well for marker pens because they just don't bleed through no matter how many layers you do. So that's encouraging. You don't see that in this spread, but I do just want to give you that honest review. Alright, so I'm just giving a bit more detail on the feathers, putting in the swimming pool lines, so that kind of shows up, the underwater view and the top view there. And I'm just putting in some shadows, all with that Uniball pen, and just a little bit of shadowing, and under his wings written there. I'm just going to make sure I've got all the lines outlined. And I'm writing the word hope in the ink of the feather pen quill. And just this idea of part of the reason I journal is because of that sense of hope and goal setting and wanting to capture that, wanting to feed that dreaming and desire. So I wanted to capture that, and that's something that all of these themes will be developed throughout this journal. So that's part of what's there. I have got a quote that I told you I was going to write a few minutes ago. So the key to success is to start before you're ready. And that really was how I felt when I was needing to jump into the pool and needing to get back into swimming to get healthy for the summer. I just did not feel ready, and I had to be brave. And it got to the point of saying, you're never going to feel ready unless it's kind of like a catch-22. You don't feel ready until you've done it, and then you don't want to do it until you feel ready. So you have to just start before you're ready if you want to succeed. And I also wanted to capture a little bit about my philosophy of creative journaling, which is to dream, to plan, but also to do, to take that action, to live intentionally. Right, so I've got my signifiers and the key down the side here. That's kind of the point of this page. And I'm using ones that I've always used. I've been bullet journaling for probably 4 years now, and these are the kind of things that work well for me. So task, I like having a dot. Sometimes I box it in, sometimes I don't. I go through that with a line saying the task has started, cross it when I've completed the task, a little triangle for an event, a little birthday cake for birthday, a heart for a memory, exclamation mark for important, glasses for research, a little clock for deadline, a dash for a note, and then I've got my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, film, a balloon for celebration, and a wave for any swimming that I'm doing, because those are the things that are kind of around the goals that I have at the moment. And then just to match the gold leaf on the outside of this bullet journal, I'm going over with a gold pen just to make those letters pop right in the middle of them, outlined the hearts, the lockets, feather lockets, and actually went over some of the gold from the watercolor because I wanted that just to be a little bit more bright and shiny, and just adding a little bit of detail into the quill as well. I love how this page turned out, and I hope seeing this gives you a little bit of a review on what the Archer and Olive notebook looks like. I still haven't made up my mind completely. I love the notebook so far. I feel privileged to have one, and I'm going to just have to adjust how much water I use in it. But all in all, I think it is a fantastic notebook. As you see me use it, I'll probably make up my mind fully. Just to say, the pages are quite like the Limone pages, if that's what you're looking for. Alright, anyway, there's my finished page. Thank you so much for joining me, and do like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you again soon. Alright, bye.